Well, another week, another Hot Air Sports podcast. So here we go again with me, Macca, and my good mate, Mahona. How are you this week, buddy?
Oh, I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Of course, we didn't have a rugby test this weekend, did we? Well, an All Blacks rugby test. We had a rugby test, but no tries in that rugby test. So it wasn't exactly a massive sporting weekend, but still plenty to discuss with you, mate. And it's always great to see your smiling face on a Thursday morning.
Quite right. Well, let's kick right into it. Good segue there. Argentina kicked 15 penalties to draw 15 all with the Wallabies. Fair result?
Yeah, mate, I think it was. Except I thought the Aussies maybe dropped the ball a little bit there. They were 6 to 9 points up with a few minutes to go, and they stopped playing rugby. They just tried to play conservative, and the Argies did what they did. Got over the ball, made it messy. Got up in their faces, wouldn't let them run, and didn't allow them to play. And 15 all. I think that was probably a fair result at the end of the day. But the Aussies will be kicking themselves. That's for sure.
Yeah, it took a while for the Argies to I guess kick in to the game with the Wallabies. I mean, the Wallabies were trying to do what the All Blacks had tried to do the week before, and just kept on getting knocked over. So. 15 all, fair result. I actually saw the result before I watched the game and didn't bother watching the whole game. I just saw the highlights package.
It's a late night for people our age, mate. It's a late night for people our age when the tests are in Australia, isn't it? I watched the first half. I recorded the second half. For a game of no tries, it was actually quite an entertaining game of rugby, really. I quite enjoyed it. Once again, the refereeing was a little bit inconsistent too. The Argies, they proved that last week obviously wasn't just a one-off, mate. They did the same thing to Australia and proved that they're going to be a bit of a headache for us again this week, I think.
Yeah, well, the Argies were, of course, accused of roughhouse tactics by the Aussies. Is it the pot calling the kettle, or don't all rugby teams engage in a bit of niggle?
Of course they do. Come on. You see the size of that. You see the size of that Aussie forward pack. I think they can take. They can take it as good as they give it, mate. That's just the way the Argentinians play. Come on.
They've always done it ever since
absolutely
they got introduced into world rugby way back in the 70s. They've always been like that. Always.
Yep, I thought the referee actually refereed the Argentinians a little bit better than he did against us. The week before, he was actually watching some of that off the ball stuff and did actually call a few of them out. One of the guys got sin-binned as well for it. So, no, I don't think they can complain too much. I thought the referee had it most of the way, and I think that's just what you've got to expect with the Argies, mate. That's the way they play their rugby.
Yeah, some would say that's how they play their football too. Just
Absolutely, Simeone wouldn't have been too bad on the side of an Argentinian scrum, would he?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the All Blacks are back to face the Pumas on Saturday night in Newcastle. Up there in the Hunter Valley. Can they bounce back from back-to-back defeats? And what changes need to be made?
Mate, that's the $64 million question. They have to bounce back, don't they? Really, there's no option. You've lost 2 in a row. You've lost to someone you've never lost to before. If they lose 3 in a row and 2 to the Argies in a row, that'd go close to the worst string of results ever by the All Blacks. There's nothing, it's a bit of a cliche, but we always used to say there's nothing worse than a wounded All Blacks beast. And they proved that wasn't the case last week or the week before last. Yeah, I think I can really see them bouncing back. But I hope that they've done some soul searching. I hope that they've done some proper tactical analysis of what actually went wrong. I did catch the breakdown show a couple of nights back, analysing that in quite in depth. And it did show the Argentinians doing that spread out defence. And we had sometimes committing 4 or 5 at the breakdown, and they committed 1. So no wonder there was no space. And the kicking was poor. I just hope that tactically, I can't imagine that we won't get it right. But if we do get it right, we should win. But, I'm just hoping for another good test, to be fair. The Argentinians are a genuine opposition now. And I'm looking forward to seeing if the All Blacks can bounce back. What about you?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a must. It's a
It
must
is.
for the All Blacks
It is.
to bounce back. Um, I'm wondering if maybe it's time to give the likes of Will Jordan a go. Maybe even Sevu Reece. Um, the All Black wingers from the previous game, Caleb Clark and Geordie Barrett, great straight runners, but you get somebody like Sevu Reece that can do 15 side steps and gain 50 meters in that run, or somebody like Will Jordan who just ghosts into the back line. Maybe it's time to give those two a crack, see if they can break that tight Argentinian defence, because just the wham bam up the middle, it certainly doesn't work against the Argentinians.
Yeah, I think we definitely lack balance in the side we selected. I know there has been a lot of talk about players being selected out of position. I think maybe we've analysed that a little bit too much. I think the team we basically got right, maybe a couple of positional swaps. I quite like the idea of Will Jordan coming in, though, to be fair. I mean, George Bridge has been a big miss for the All Blacks this year. Last year, he was bloody awesome, and he offered that point of difference. Will Jordan can do a similar thing. I think he's been very unlucky not to play at all so far. I'd chuck him in for sure, but whether Foster will, who knows? But going more to that, playing players out of position, there have been more calls from the media this week to put Beauden Barrett back at number 10. Do you think that's unfair on Richie Mo'unga? I mean, I commented a couple of weeks ago. I thought, look, I was a bit sceptical of Richie Mo'unga, but he sold me. He sold me against Australia. Didn't do quite so well against the Argentinians. Do you think it's time to put Beauden back there?
No, I think Richie Mo'unga has got a better all-round game at 10 than Beauden. Beauden, great pace, great straight running, but Richie's got the ability to, the side step and the dropping the shoulder and turning the other way, especially when running. And also, I think Richie's kicking game is a lot better than Beauden's, even though he didn't show that last time out against Argentina. I think he was playing probably more to instructions than just playing his own game. If Foster lets Mo'unga go out there and play his own game, I think Mo'unga is better than Barrett at number 10. I don't see any problem with Beauden at 15. I think he plays very well there. They do swap from time to time, depending on the situation. Sometimes you do see Beauden jumping in at number 10 and Richie popping back to fullback. So I just think they complement each other brilliantly. And, yeah, I'm quite happy to see Mo'unga staying at 10 and Barrett at 15.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. I mean, I probably wouldn't have agreed a month or so ago, but I am sold on Richie Mo'unga. I just think he had a poor game. And I don't think you can blame Richie Mo'unga on the Argentinian defeat. I think there was just so many parts of that game that went wrong for the All Blacks. Yeah. Tactically, they got it wrong. Maybe positionally, a couple of positions they got it wrong. I would switch the midfield, as I've discussed before. I'd put Leonard Brown at second 5. So yeah, just to change that up. But I think Richie Mo'unga is our best first 5 now as well. And Beauden's been playing pretty well at fullback. I don't think you can blame it on Richie. I really don't. So and look, you don't have to look too far back before you saw an absolutely world-class performance of his at first 5. So, no, mate, I'd just keep it as it is. I'd slightly tinker with the tactics and maybe just a couple of positional changes. But other than that, I'd keep them where they are, I think. And like you say, they are able to interchange. You look at it's often like, we talk formations a lot in football. We go 4-4-3, 4-4-2, all that sort of thing. But people... So many people don't realise players move around. They don't stay in those positions. Other players drop in and all that sort of thing. And it's the same in rugby, and they do. Beauden Barrett and Richie Mo'unga, depending on whether we're defending or attacking, they do interchange, and it is quite. They do it quite flawlessly, don't they? That's probably why people don't notice quite so well. Their skill sets are so beautifully married. So, yeah, I would keep it as is. I would just change up the tactics, I think, mate. Change up the tactics a little bit so that some of the kicking has to be better. I mean, Richie has to be better at that kicking. I rewatched the test the other day, and what were we doing? I mean, 2 or 3 phases, we're just getting smash. And then it was just like, okay, we're getting smashed. What can we do? We'll kick it. And it was like the kicking was just – sometimes, it wasn't long. Some of it wasn't short. It was just up or – just seemed aimless. So
Yeah.
just get it right. Get it right in there, mate. I think we'll be fine.
I think Aaron Smith was probably guilty of some bad kicking too from the base of the scrum. There were a number of times he set up for a kick and had to change his mind because he does set himself quite early when he is kicking. So, sort that kicking out, kick the ball in hand, and maybe get somebody like Will Jordan or Sevu Reece on the end of some of those lines and
absolutely
create a bit of space for the others.
Absolutely.
Now, the big thing is there may be a number of All Black fans this weekend hoping for a loss in the fact that it might see Ian Foster relieved of his duties as head coach.
You mean people in Christchurch specifically?
A lot of people in Christchurch, yes. Will a loss on the weekend signal the end of Ian Foster's tenure as coach?
This reminds me of when Graham Henry was coach of the All Blacks, and all the people down in Canterbury wanted Deans to be coach, and they were like, people were ringing up talkback saying, "I'm not going to support the All Blacks anymore. I'm not going to support. You've chosen the wrong. It's Aucklanders coaching all the time." You're just like, come on. I don't think if you support the All Blacks, you don't want them to lose ever, mate. What sort of supporter are you? Piss off and go and support someone else.
Oh, quite right.
Look, mate, I'm not Foster's biggest fan. I've been on record as saying I would prefer Robertson, but you got to give the guy a shake. You know, it's his first season. It's been COVID, and he's had to deal with things that no other All Black coach in history's had to deal with. I wasn't happy with the performance the last couple of weeks, but give him the season. I don't think an All Black coach has ever been sacked mid-season, and it won't happen this season, mate. Can't see it.
Yeah, no, I don't ever remember. Well, technically it will be the end of the season if they sack him up.
Yeah,
true. But yeah, mid-tenure, I don't ever remember an All Black coach being relieved of his duties while he's still under contract, and Foster's still got another year to go. I think if the All Blacks do happen to lose, everybody will just put it down to 2020.
Yeah. Exactly.
So...
no, it depends on, and maybe
if it did happen, I think you'd find Scott Robertson would be called up, but I don't see that happening.
Maybe it depends on how we lose. Okay, if we lost again on Saturday and we got smashed up and we looked absolutely terrible, maybe we could revisit that then. But I can't see the All Blacks going out there and performing poorly again on Saturday. I think they'll be ready. I think they'll be up for this one. I really do. I really think the Argies, just watch out. I just have a funny feeling the All Blacks are going to be up for this weekend, mate.
Quite right.
Yeah. Now, it's obvious the All Blacks no longer have a divine right to win test matches anymore, mate. Can we continue to have our cake and eat it too, or is it time for the New Zealand Rugby Football Union to fall in line with the rest of the world and select players from overseas as well as those playing in New Zealand? What do you think, mate? Should we change the rules?
I'm sort of yes and no. Yes, I think it's time that All Blacks should be allowed to play for other super franchises outside.
Outside of New Zealand, yes.
Yep. But I'm not in favour of bringing back guys that are playing outside of Super Rugby. I think just within the same competition. So the guys all playing over in Europe. I'm
Charles
sorry.
Piutau, for instance.
Charles Piutau, those guys that have chased the money. They'll say they've done it for rugby reasons, but we all know they've done it for money. And I think my reasoning behind that is because it would just dilute our own rugby here in New Zealand. I think the Super Rugby and the NPC would just be all our good players would go overseas because the New Zealand rugby just doesn't have the financial clout to pay the same wages that some of these European clubs. I mean, Charles Piutau, you just mentioned there, he's on $1 million a year. So, there's no way in the world New Zealand rugby can pay that. Not even Richie McCaw and Carter got paid that by the New Zealand Rugby Union. So, a yes and no.
It's a real tough one, eh? I know what you're saying, but are we the only country in the world in any sort of professional sport that says to our players, if you want to play for, you stay in this country? I mean, it is kind of communism at its highest level, and it's kind of, and also when you think about the New Zealand Rugby Union, all the cream is already at the top. Okay, so the All Blacks, if you look at the pyramid, the All Blacks are already at the top of the pyramid. They get everything going for them anyway.
Yeah.
And you would say over the past 10, 20 years that New Zealand Rugby Union themselves, has seriously diluted what's underneath. So my argument, I mean, just to play the devil's advocate a little bit here, would be to say, well, okay, so maybe the top 50% of rugby players will piss off overseas and they'll play. We'll still have a reasonably good amateur, semi-amateur thing here. But my God, will the All Blacks be kicking ass? Because they are going to have a massive pool of players. They're going to have the best players from all over the world, and they will still be the cream at the top of the crop for the New Zealand Rugby Union and still earn those big bucks. So I don't know, man. Maybe we are almost at that time. I completely understand why the New Zealand Rugby Union's done it before, because they think, right, the game will die here. I don't think the game will die here if they do this. I think the game, obviously, at a level like Super Rugby and NPC and club level, obviously the playing standard will go down. But I don't think it'll kill the game, because the top players will still want to make money and the top players will still want to play for the All Blacks. So, yeah, I think maybe it is time to start thinking about it, mate. Just a thought.
Yeah, I sort of see where you're coming from. I mean, Australia do it to a certain extent.
Yep, they bring guys.
Only players that have played over, I think it's 65 tests, can play in Europe and still qualify to play for the Wallabies. That doesn't harm their local product. I think the likes of George Bridge or Dane Coles should be able to play for an Australian side, or as it was previously in South Africa. Because, I mean, when you look at the likes of other countries, I mean, we're talking about Northern Hemisphere countries in South Africa. They're all playing within a 2-hour flight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, and so and I remember Steve Hansen, when he was All Black coach, said that keeping the All Blacks in New Zealand would stay until at least they had a global calendar, whereby, you know, Super Rugby was during our winter, Hemisphere would play their rugby during their winter, and there'd be international windows like they have in football. But they would be 4 or 5 week windows, not just the 2-week international windows. So I think in that regards, once we do find a global calendar, then I think maybe it would make sense to allow players playing in Europe to actually play for the All Blacks, because it would all be happening in a set window, and you're not going to get players flying from one side of the world to the other to join up with their international side.
So the main problem for the New Zealand Rugby Union is that it's going to leave most of the young, great talent, and it's going to send them overseas. Is that correct? Is that basically their fear?
Yeah.
Okay, so what would keep them here? I mean, I like what you say. If it was open slather, what would keep them here? What would keep them here would be a really good professional style competition, like you say, like the Super Rugby thing, where they don't have to travel a million miles. So what I would suggest, if we are going to do this, that we completely scrap Super Rugby and we create professional franchises in Australia and New Zealand, like we do with the NRL, and have a proper professional rugby competition that can be owned by a very rich person who can pay what the players are doing, rather than it all be managed by the New Zealand Rugby Union. Have a proper professional club competition, and that can then keep those players here, you know, rather than heading them overseas. And then we can pick from anywhere, and it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think we keep trying to put the cart before the horse, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, as you know, I'm more of a rugby man than I am a league man. But one thing I will admit is that league have got it right in regards to their set club season. They have it's the same season every year, like Super Rugby. You know, one year it starts at the end of February, the next year it starts at the beginning of January, the next year after that, oh crikey, it's the middle of February before we start. Again, it changes every year.
It's crap for the fans, eh?
It is. It's terrible. And you shouldn't be going to watch a game of rugby on the 31st of January, like what happened
No.
earlier on this year with Super Rugby starting so early. And with the Rugby League, now, next year, that the season's going to start last weekend in March.
And when the grand final's going to be.
When the grand final is going to be at the end of September.
Yep.
That happens every year. You know that on Anzac Day, if you play for South Sydney, you're going to be playing
St. George.
Yep. And it's just, that's why the NRL gets such a huge following. And Super Rugby, I mean, you don't know until probably December or January where your team's going to be playing.
That's right.
And it's different every year. So, I think once it does happen, if they can do that, great. Follow the lead of, I mean, again, with Rugby League, when State of Origin's going to be, and your club's going to be affected. So you plan for it, and
absolutely. And the fans can plan around that too, Mackie. You can look at the calendar and go, oh, I want to see the Warriors play Brisbane in Brisbane. I can plan my trip away. Oh, I want to go to the grand final. I know it's on that date. I can plan my time away. I mean, it makes it so much easier for a fan. I think the New Zealand Rugby Union needs to think more about their fans, How hard is it for us to support a team when we don't know who they're playing next week, and when, there's a conference system and it's so confusing, and it's just...
And for provincial fans, there's talk about more changes to the NPC.
I know. Again.
Really?
Again. I know.
The NRL, how many seasons has that been going now in the same format? 100?
100 years. But, I mean, we've had expansion, obviously, but all they ever do is just slightly extend the season. Yeah, that's right.
And look at the NFL every year.
Oh,
it starts
absolutely.
in August and finishes in first weekend in February.
And even a sport like baseball, which is completely different, but your sport, but completely, different. You play every second day, but by the time you get to October, that's when the World Series is going to be, and it's the same every year. There's a reason why it was called Mr. October, wasn't there? I mean,
exactly.
It's not Mr. Mid-November. So just let the fans know when things are on. It makes a big difference. Okay, mate, the NPC. A competition that has been providing some really good rugby. Finals set for this weekend, and we picked 3 of them. We missed out on one of them though.
Yeah.
And that was when the Taniwha upset Otago. Oh, I didn't see that one coming at all, mate. And that was the first game of the weekend. I thought, shit, we're none from one. We've set everyone wrong here, but we got the other 3 anyway. So Northland are going to visit Hawke's Bay after the Taniwha upset favourites Otago. And that's in the championship, of course. And it's a top 2 showdown at Eden Park with Auckland hosting Tasman for the top honours in the premiership. I want a couple of predictions from you right now, mate. First of all, we'll start with the championship. What do you reckon? Northland taking on Hawke's Bay.
Well, the way Hawke's Bay played on the weekend, I don't think you can really go past them. They are on absolute fire at the moment, the Hawke's Bay, the mighty Bay. So,
Magpies.
I think the Bay, I'm going to say easily, because I thought that they were going to be in for a tough game on the weekend, but basically Taranaki just stood aside and said, there you go, have the game, and got 59 points scored against them.
Yeah.
The premiership final, I think, is going to be a lot tighter, and I'm going to go for my old home province.
Of course you are.
Tasman.
Of course you are.
Where I grew up.
Of course you are. Well, I have to go for Northland then, don't I? Because I've got Whānau from up north, so I'm going to go for the mighty Taniwha to upset Hawke's Bay, the shield holders. A pity the shield won't be on the line. And then, of course, I have to go for the cousins across the bridge, the big cuzzies from Auckland against Tasman, because that's a Blues versus Crusaders type of thing, and I don't really have a choice when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
So we've got different winners in those 2 comps, mate.
Yeah, they should be good games.
They should be.
Expect the Northland Hawke's Bay game should be an end-to-end, really open, flowing game. That Hawke's Bay backline is just unbelievable at the moment. They're on absolute fire. And, and I think the Auckland-Tasman game is going to be a lot tighter. I don't think it's going to be decided till late in the game. Of course, I'm hoping that the the mighty Tasman boys, part of the Crusaders franchise, will get up and win that. And it's actually their third final in 4 years. So
not bad. Dynasty.
Been consistent, the boys from Tasman. So
definitely,
yeah, it should be a cracker. On a sad note, rest in peace, Christophe Dominic, the former French winger, passed away at just 48 years old. He absolutely tormented the All Blacks with 2 tries to knock us out of the 1999 Rugby World Cup. Sad days indeed for French rugby.
Very sad, mate. Very sad, and strange circumstances of his death as well. Fell through a roof, apparently. Yeah, very, very sad. He was only like, 5'8" or something. He was a short little guy, stocky.
3'4" in the heavy boots.
But he was as wide as he was tall, and boy, did he have some wheels. He had some wheels. He must have been very, very hard to tackle, being that low to the ground, and quite a very, very muscular figure. But gee, it's just, he really epitomized that French Gallic flair in the back line, didn't he? He just looked like whenever anyone missed a tackle, it looked like they were missing the tackle. Like he wasn't really necessarily doing anything to make them miss. But boy, a lot of people missed tackling him, didn't he? Didn't they? So I mean, he obviously had something about him, mate. Just a turn of pace and a step from hell. A great player, and those tries that he scored in the quarterfinal against us in '99, I'll never forget them. I mean, the All Blacks just didn't know what hit him, did they? I mean, Jonas scored 2 tries in that game as well, mate. Rest in peace, that beautiful man as well. 2 of the greatest tries you'll ever see. And second half, the French just came storming back, didn't they? They were just unstoppable on that day. And he was amongst them. Just a sad way to go. Way too early. Very sad.
Leading up to that game, all the talk was about a certain All Blacks winger who you just talked about, and how he was going to dominate the game, and it turned out
he did
a complete polar opposite.
It did.
Winger, 5'4", as you say, probably about half of Jonah's weight, absolutely destroying the All Blacks. So all right, rest in peace, Christophe.
Absolutely. Should we go to some round ball, mate? Our Liverpool's still doing the business, mate. We had 9 players out over the weekend. 3/4 of a new defence. We didn't have a right back. We didn't have 2 central backs. And many said Leicester would be a very big test for Liverpool. But in reality, we blew them away in what was largely looked like a 3-0 training one for the Reds against Leicester. What did you make of the game, mate?
Oh, I tell you what, it blew me away. I was expecting a real battle. And, facing up to the likes of Jamie Vardy and Yuri Tielemans and Harvey Barnes, I thought, crikey, we're in for a hell of a game here. And within a couple of minutes, it was like, we've got this.
Yeah. Just the way we're passing around, eh?
And always great to see a former Manchester United player score for Liverpool. Good old Johnny Evans.
Oh, that was a shocker. To be fair, the ball came from the corner. It wasn't like he didn't have a long time to see it. It wasn't like it was just bashed at him. Came from the corner, and he got up, and he actually gave it some of that in the goal. It wasn't like it rebounded up. I don't know what he was thinking. It was just an absolute shocker.
Yeah. And that second goal from Diogo Jota, 30 passes over a period of 90 seconds, and Andy Robertson delivered that absolute peach of a cross for Jota to get on the end of. That was just amazing.
And his run into the box, that beautiful diagonal run.
Beautifully angled run. And, of course, my favourite, Bobby Firmino, after hitting the post a couple of times, it looked like he was never going to score. And then everybody put a load on that corner, didn't they? And he just nodded it into for 3-0. So
he missed a goal by 1 centimetre, apparently. It looked like a lot less than 1 centimetre to me.
On fire, back to his best, I think, Bobby. He had a great game. I think we're going to see the old Bobby back now for hopefully the rest of the season. But looking at another game, another edition of Pep versus Jose when Man City played Spurs, and at least no one got poked in the eye this time. Spurs beat City 2-0 by scoring early and playing the low block in a classic Jose performance to go top of the table and consign City to 13th. Spurs the real deal, and is Jose rediscovered as manager mojo? And on the other hand, is Pep losing his?
Well, mate, I've been a big critic of Jose Mourinho, and I'm eating a little bit of humble pie here, mate. He's turned them around more than I thought he could.
Yeah.
He's really doing well there. I mean, the style they're playing, Harry Kane playing like Zidane from the midfield, dropping way back, hitting those curved balls. They are playing really, really well. And I think Jose's got the players that he wants as well.
Yeah.
The midfielder that they signed from, what's his name, from Southampton, the guy that's just the breakup artist. Oh, Højbjerg. My God, that guy is just an absolute beast in midfield. And he's exactly Jose's type of player, just breaks up play, just destroys play for the opposition. He was on fire. The Spurs do look like the real deal. And Jose, he has rediscovered his mojo. I mean, they could go all the way. I mean, I know we've been laughing about it. Saying our friend Mr. Redknapp, oh yeah, they're going to go all the way, Spurs this year. No, good one, thumbs up, geezer. Maybe he knows something. I mean, we know he does. He's been, Spurs looked really good. I mean, even though when you looked at the statistics, I think they had 30-something% possession. They had about 3 shots on goal to something like 16. They were second place all over the statistics. But statistics don't make games, mate. You score that early goal, you sit back, and that's just perfect, Jose. I think another statistic for you, Jose Mourinho has lost only 1 game when his teams, in the last 86, when his teams have been behind by 1 goal, go behind. So when his teams go ahead, mate, he doesn't lose. And, he does look like... As for Pep, he's just recently signed the 2-year extension to his contract, and his team reward him by playing that poorly. Geez, man, they didn't actually play that badly. They just in the final third, they just lacked that cutting edge. Just don't think Jesus is Aguero for sure. And
there's big raps on Gabriel Jesus, and I've never really been a fan of his.
He works hard.
He works hard, but he doesn't score. He's never going to score 20 goals in a season. No. I always can't believe that the Brazil coach picks him ahead of Firmino as well.
I can't understand that either. But then again, the Brazil coach also picks Edison ahead of Alisson, mate. So
true.
What does he know?
Yes. Well, big showdown then on December 17th, Thursday at Anfield, Liverpool versus Tottenham Hotspur. Got a few games, obviously, to go in between then and now. But yeah, Thursday, December 17th. Mark it on your calendars. Versus Tottenham Hotspur.
An early Christmas present coming for both of us, mate. Eh?
Quite
Another 4-0 win will do me. Thank you.
Now, after the Liverpool-Leicester game, Jurgen Klopp aimed his anger at TV stations, BT Sport and Sky TV, at the fixture pile-up. While Daily Mail writer Martin Samuel defended the TV stations, saying they've paid over £90 million for their respective football packages. But if top players are getting injured because they're playing too much, won't that dilute the product?
Well, for a start, the guy's writing for the Daily Mail, so it doesn't really say much. Look, it doesn't matter how much they're getting paid; they're still human beings. Okay, it's not a computer game. They're not robots. Players are getting injured just about every game, and the congestion's just ridiculous. The worst part was the internationals. I mean, now that that's finished, we can concentrate on the club schedule. But you look at the club schedule, if you're in every cup, geez, it's looking nasty. And I'm actually quite pleased we got knocked out of the League Cup. I bet you Jurgen Klopp must be as well. It's just crazy. I mean, what I am thinking that this may cause is in January, there may be, because we don't usually see a lot of transfer business in January. I'm thinking January could be very, very busy on the transfer front with lots of teams looking for squad players and and depth in their squads. Yeah, especially if they bring in the 5 substitutes, which it sounds like they may be coming around to. Although Jurgen over the weekend only used 1 substitute until the 88th minute again. So, I mean, he's complaining about one thing on one hand, and then he doesn't really seem to. Mind you, I know the way that he rotates his players. It's more about whether they start the game, so it's slightly different. But Yeah, I wouldn't listen to that guy from the Daily Mail, mate. He's probably in the back pocket of the guys from the TV stations. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what he took issue with was one of the statements from Jurgen Klopp, who said, "Oh, we've got people behind desks making these decisions," which I thought was quite a good comment, actually. And by all accounts,
it's something that you and I would say.
It was going out live on Sky, of course, straight after the game, and Sky cut it off, whilst other TV stations continued to show it. So. Yeah, a bit of.
So it's a bit like the CNN cutting off Donald Trump, is that what they're doing? A bit of political bias there.
Klopp's having a go at the television stations. Cut them off.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But I think Klopp's totally right with what he's saying.
Yep.
I mean, you look at Liverpool's schedule this week. We're playing Atalanta tomorrow morning or Wednesday evening UK time, and we've got to back up at 12:30 on Saturday against Brighton. So
that could have been
2.5 days.
I know that could have been eased with us playing, say, maybe later on the Sunday. Yeah, but the TV companies want the best teams playing in their primetime slots, so it's all about viewers, it's all about money. So, mate, that's the thing. There could be some give and take, but there's not. The TV stations say play now because that's when we want you to play, and that's essentially what the clubs are doing, and that's what Klopp's moaning about. Just a case in point, though, Klopp isn't going to stop moaning about this. He's going to keep doing it. It's not going to stop. So all those people saying,
he got his way with the winter break last year.
Yes, he did.
Out to be in Liverpool.
I know, not that it mattered at the end. And he'll probably get his way with the 5 substitutes as well, because it sounds like they're coming around to that. Yeah. And they're getting their way almost with the handballs, because there were a couple of VAR decisions over the weekend that were, even the one in the Liverpool game where Joel Matip's, it hit his hand. I thought 3 or 4 weeks ago that would have been given handball.
Yep.
But the referees have not come out and said that they've changed anything. They've just changed the way they're VARing it.
Then you get that clown who refereed the Man United West Brom game.
Not a clown. He's a prat. He
absolutely, and this was our next topic, was West Brom awarded a dead set penalty.
Absolutely.
He gets told to go and have another look at it, goes and have another look at it, and turns it and reverses his decision.
So he didn't give the penalty for the guy kicking. Was it Bruno Fernandes? I can't remember.
Kicking the West Brom player.
That's right. He kicked he said it wasn't a penalty. Then he went and had a look.
No, he said it was a penalty.
No, that's right. See, I can't even keep up, mate. I just don't even understand. I heard Kevin De Bruyne being interviewed, and he's just like, I don't even understand what a handball is now. Just don't understand it. He said, 10 years ago when I started playing football, I knew what it was, and it was a beautiful game. And for about 7 or 8 years, we only had 1 or 2 rule changes. Now in the last 3 or 4 years, we've had a dozen rule changes every year, and it's just, I don't understand it. Doesn't feel like the officials understand it. And we're changing on the fly, and different interpretations in different countries. And, oh, mate, it's just an absolute mess. Can we just keep it simple? Can I ask you, what exactly is wrong? Why is a handball the most evil thing in football? Why? I mean, look, if it hits the head and rebounds on the ground and it doesn't really affect, it's not the most evil thing. It's not like a guy sliding in 2-footed and taking a guy out and breaking his leg. It's just grazed the hand. Can we just take that out? Unless someone actually deliberately tries to pick up the ball and run with it, which is what that rule was brought in for, let's just say it's incidental and play on. And that could just resolve the whole problem.
Well, the whole problem is because of VAR, the game's being taken away from the on-field referee. And I actually thought they used to rule it pretty well. I won't say very well. Always intent, and also if the person that handled the ball gained an advantage from it.
That's right. But it was always down to interpretation. It was down to interpretation before, and we didn't agree with some, but we still went along with them because that was how it was interpreted. Now it has to be interpreted by someone else who's not even at the bloody game.
So, I think in pre-VAR, I reckon they probably got 7 or 8 out of 10 right.
Mm.
Now it's 2 out of 10 if they're lucky.
And they've got the technology to help them.
Well, it's not.
You know?
As I said, I think it was last week or the week before, it's time that VAR only had 3 replays at it, a
Yep.
maximum of 3 replays,
Yep.
2 of them at normal speed. You
That
have
sounds good to me.
at a normal speed.
Yep.
And it's either 3 replays or 15 seconds. And if you can't see anything glaringly obvious to turn that decision around, you go with the original decision.
How about when the referee does go to the screen? Have you seen the footage that they play? They play often like a 2-second footage, and they play it backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards, and it just keeps going. And you're like, that okay? It's showing the actual incident, but it's misconstruing the way that the ball got there. It only shows the minutia of the moment. And they say, there they go. So, and they just show that tiny little cut of it. I just think that's not doing the referees any favour either when they're trying to
what they're trying to do by that is create a black and white situation rather than a grey situation, which is wrong. It's totally not a black and white situation.
No, it's
anyway,
just something. Yeah, let's move away from VAR before we.
Let's move away from that. Let's move to cricket. The West Indies is underway now with the after the weekend's 3-day match against New Zealand A, with good performances from black cap and waiting Devon Conway, and a new name with Wellington's Rasheen Ravindra scoring a ton on day 1. It was an interesting game down there. Quite couple of good tons, couple of good performances. Will Young batted well in the second innings. Seemed to me that New Zealand A were pretty much on top for most of that game.
Yeah, they were, mate. I don't know what that says about the strength of the West Indians, but I'm just pleased to see cricket back. To be fair, I can't remember the last time I watched a game of cricket live. It's been quite a while, and it's good to have an international side here, even though they were a little bit naughty in their lockdown. Hopefully, no one's affected by that. God, touch wood. Yeah, but some good new names. Devon Conway, mate. This guy is going to be a superstar, isn't he? He just keeps scoring. He just seems to score against everyone. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him in a black cap for the first time. And Rasheen Ravindra, knew nothing about him, mate. Nothing about him.
First time I've heard of him.
About time, though, we had a few more Indians playing in first-class cricket, because there's a hell of a lot of them playing park cricket, and a hell of a lot of them where I work. In Auckland, there are so many Indians, and they all love cricket. So come on, 2nd, 3rd, 4th generation Indians, play some cricket and get in the black caps, because we know you've got some talent, some spinners and stuff as well. I'm going to watch out for this guy's name and see how he progresses.
Yes, well, the only one that really performed for the West Indies over the weekend was Darren Bravo, who's been around for a wee while now. He scored 100 for the visitors. I think. Do you think his form will be key to any success, if any, for the Windies?
Of course. I've looked at the rest of the squad. I don't know too many of them. They've all got names like Alexander and, all those beautiful names. I look for Chris Gale, still pretty integral. Is he still playing? Chris Gale? No, he's not playing. Chris Gale only plays for money and strippers these days, I think. Darren Bravo, he is a hell of a talented cricketer, though, mate, and especially in the limited oversight stuff and the T20s, he should go well. But if he doesn't, I don't really hold a lot of hope for the West Indies. But as I say, I'm just looking forward to seeing some cricket, mate. I don't really care. We could be playing St. Ignatius F grade. I wouldn't really mind. I just want to see the Black Caps playing, mate. Just want to see them playing.
Yes, well, West Indies are the current world champs in T20.
I know.
The only team to have won 2 T20 World Cups, but recent results haven't been kind, winning only 2 of their last 5 T20 series, including losses to Afghanistan in a drawn series against Ireland.
Yeah.
The Caribbean side will have some confidence as the Black Caps are on a similar run, losing their last 7 T20 outings. And don't forget that 4 members of the squad for New Zealand don't actually get out of managed isolation the day before the game. I do notice they have been practicing out at Lincoln with a couple of coaches who were in the T20, namely Shane Bond and Brendan McCullum. So at least they've been doing something.
It's good.
First game on Friday.
It's going to be funny, isn't it, mate? Going from isolation to a full house at Eden Park, or however many, 40,000 or 40,000. So you go from seeing absolutely no one for 2 weeks, and they'll probably be at the IPL as well, where there's just been no one in the stands, to a big crowd. And of course, the West Indies have been playing in front of no crowds as well. So it'll be a hell of a shock to the players, I can imagine, when they finally get out in front of players again. It's a T20. I don't know what the result will be. I would suggest the Black Caps will be hot favourites. I just want to see some big hits, a good game, and it's going to be nice to plonk myself in front of the TV late on a Friday night and watch some cricket.
Quite right. The old leather-on Willow is back again. Yes, it'll remain to be seen. I'm not going to try a prediction on that because I don't really follow the T20 game. So
T20's hard, mate? It's a toss of a coin, mate.
Maybe I'll just go out of sheer heart above head and go Black Caps.
Okay, we'll go with Black Caps.
Yeah, go with Black Caps.
I'll put 20 on at the TAB for you, mate.
Yeah, good on you. Anyway, on to your favourite code, Rugby League. Queensland took out the final game of the State of Origin series, winning yet another one, despite being called the worst team ever north of the border. How did that happen?
Because they are. They are the worst team, worst Queensland team.
South Wales then.
Mate, okay, it doesn't say a lot for New South Wales at all, but I still think that Queensland team is not a great Queensland team. Daly Cherry Evans made sure everyone was reminded of it after the final whistle when he addressed the crowd saying, and on behalf of the worst Queensland team ever, thank you very much, which was actually quite good. But my God, what you can say about that Queensland team is when they put on a jersey, a maroon jersey, some of those guys grow an extra foot taller. That game was the one of the three that actually reminded me more of the Origin series of old than any of the other. The other two were a little bit of a wet buster, or, you know, they weren't that great, I didn't think, compared to the third game. I really enjoyed that third game. Maybe it was the 50,000 plus that were there. Obviously, the banana benders out in force at the stadium that added that special atmosphere, but the players definitely put it on. And the Queenslanders especially elevated their performance. They were unbelievable on the night. They might be unfashionable, but, gee, they were the most courageous Queensland team I've seen in a hell of a long time. It was effort that won it. New South Wales, far more talented. You go through their side, you just think, wow, just about every position you take their players. But, wow, Queensland just playing out of their skin. They just do what they do every time. Every time you think, nah, this Queensland team's crap. They're gonna, they just raise their game, and they just love playing those. They love playing New South Wales, don't they? They just love it. They just love
banana benders, eh?
Yeah, mate, absolutely. It was a good game.
In that game, Cameron Munster was after the game the player of the series. How good is the Melbourne Storm half? Well,
I gave him a 10, mate. I gave him a 10. That was as dominant a performance in Origin as you'll see. He conceded a penalty after he kicked out on the full off the Blues' first try to give New South Wales good field position. So maybe a 9.5. He did make an error, but he broke the game wide open with a triple kick play that led to the first try for Edric Lee. He was the most dangerous man on the field in the first half. Amazing play. He finished with 80 metres, a tackle bust, an offload, a try assist, 11 tackles. He controlled them perfectly. He is the complete player. He's just a phenomenon. I'm not fond of him. Plays for the Storm in Queensland, but you can see, the guy's just a superstar, mate. Absolute superstar. Just another one off the bloody production line there in Australia Rugby League. Just absolutely amazing. But I must mention as well, Harry Grant. I don't know whether you saw this guy during the game. Just a little guy from Newcastle. What a superstar. He came on earlier than most people expected, and he absolutely carved them up at halfback, at hooker. He had a line break, 2 line break assists. He worked well in tandem with Jake Friend. When Jake Friend came back on the field, they played the two hookers. He gave away a penalty that gave the Blues a late shot and forcing extra time. It was his only blemish. He finished with 67 metres, 4 tackle busts, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, and 23 tackles. For me, Harry Grant was the guy that, the name that you didn't know, the guy that was the Ben Icon from 2020, the guy that no one had heard of. He just came on and played out of his skin. Well done, Queensland, another win.
Quite right. And before we get to the Warriors signings in the off-season, I noticed that Newcastle are going to have two Johns brothers playing again for them, with Jack Jones moving from South Sydney back up to Newcastle to join his younger or older brother. I can't remember which way they're...
Yeah, I don't know which way they are either, but it'll be good, won't it? It'll be good to have two Johns brothers in the back line again, and they look as cheeky as their dads, to be fair. The way they play the game, and I've seen them interviewed as well. Chips off the old block, and Johns to Johns is another thing we're going to hear from the lips of the commentators this year. Good on them.
Quite right. And on the home front, the Warriors have signed Bailey Surinam, son of former Tigers legend Paul from South Sydney. What do you make of the signing and the Warriors recruitment so far?
Well, I like Bailey Surinam. He's not a big man. Well, he's a big man normal-wise, but not in rugby league. 186 centimetres, 101 kgs. He's a back rower. He can play in the halves as well. He debuted with the West Tigers in 2017. I just love his name, though, because I'm a big Tigers fan from way back. You love Paul Surinam. He played one match for the Tigers before he moved to South Sydney in 2019. He was very handy last year. Really liked him, and I was actually really surprised we picked him up. I'm surprised they let him go. He becomes the 7th new addition to the Warriors squad. We've let a whole bunch of players go. Obviously, Nathan Brown is having his say, and we've signed 7 players, and I like most of them. Aden Fanua-Blake is a very good prop. He's played Origin, really like him. Kane Evans, he's one of the biggest guys in the NRL. He's 6'7" and 125 kgs. Middle edge forward Ben Murdoch-Masila from the UK, another big unit. We've got centre Ewan Aitken from St. George, halfback Sean O'Sullivan, and centre wing from the Bulldogs, Marcelo Montoya. Very interesting signing as well. I'm loving the look of our forward pack next season, man. It's really where we needed the big improvement, and it looks like they're now getting it. Back row options now include Bailey Surinam, Tohu Harris, Eli Katoa, Jack Murchie, Jazz Tavanga, and up front you're looking at Ben Murdoch-Masila, Jermaine Tanoa-Brown, Kane Evans, Bunty Afawa, Ben Murdoch-Masila, and Lisa Narmau. Wow, that is a forward pack. Starting to get excited for next season, mate, based on some of this recruitment. Really liking the way we're going.
One name missing from that Warriors pack you mentioned, Ignatius Parsi. I understand Nathan Brown gave him the flick after saying you've come back to training too fat.
He did. I don't know whether that was the reason, because he's a big unit anyway. I have a feeling it's something to do with his family. Bit sad because, he's been a stalwart for us over the last couple of years, and he was coming back to be here. But, that's just the way it goes, professional sport. We've let a lot of guys go, actually, who I was sort of thinking, maybe we like Adam Kieran. I quite liked him. But it's just the way it goes, man. And I know we need an investment in our pack, and obviously we've left some of those guys go to bring in some of these heads. And I am loving the look of our forward pack next year, man. Top 8 next year for sure. Warriors for sure next year. It's our year, mate. It's our year. Okay, another sport, mate. Another sport. Steven Adams is traded to the New Orleans Pelicans. What do you make of that? Hey,
I'm happy for the big fella, and he's just signed a 2-year extension on that too, worth about 50 million New Zealand dollars. So, but it's funny, really. You sign that extension, and it's actually a pay cut on what he's going to be earning.
What'll he do?
Crazy money of American sport. I'm really happy for the guy. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder looked like they were going through a rebuilding phase, and the last place you really want to be stuck is in a franchise that's going through a rebuilding stage. He's joining some incredible names, including former draft number 1 pick Zion Williamson at the Pelicans. So an exciting time for Steven Adams, I think, and just living in the Big Easy is going to be a bit different to good old staid conservative Nebraska, Oklahoma.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Yeah. He's reportedly signed a 2-year, $35 million US deal that's going to keep him under the contract with the Pelicans until the 22-23 season. He was part of a 4-team trade. Now, this is why the trade took a little bit longer than normal. 4-team trade involving the Denver Nuggets, Milwaukee Bucks that saw the Oklahoma City Thunder deal him and bring in 5 new players. So that's obviously the rebuild.
Yeah.
And 3 draft picks as well. He previously spent all 7 seasons with Oklahoma City. The contract is fully guaranteed and is set to tip his career earnings north of 140 million US dollars. So he will be our richest sportsman by probably quite a fair distance. Within the trade included former New Zealand Breakers guard RJ Hampton, who was sent from New Orleans to Denver on the day of the NBA draft. He was selected 24th last week, and he's going to make his debut this season. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Steven Adams goes at New Orleans. I think New Orleans, the city, probably suits his temperament, his personality.
A perfect match, Steven Adams.
I think they'll love him. I think they'll love him.
Having been to the Big Easy myself a couple of years back, it's a pretty loose city.
And he's a bit of a Big Easy himself, isn't he? You know,
he could be. That could be a new nickname.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Zion Williams, mate, that guy is an NFL player. He's an NFL player playing basketball. Him and Steven Adams, whoo, yeah, that's a pretty physical team. I'm looking forward to seeing those two combine for sure. Yep. Good on Steven Adams, man. Good on him.
I've got a question for you to finish off.
Yeah, mate. Yep.
This absolutely champion Kiwi athlete retired from sport last week, and over her 2-decade career, won 2 gold, 2 silver, and 1 bronze medal at World Championship level, 3 Commonwealth Games gold medals, 6 World Cup singles titles, 2 World Champion of Champions titles, 5 national titles, and represented her country 646 times. Who is it?
Bloody hell. 646 times?
646 times over 2 decades.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, it's obviously not a contact sport. 646 games, you'd be dead.
It depends how you look at it. In some it could be called a contact sport.
I think I know this. Is it bowls?
It is bowls.
I see. My old man would kill me. God rest his soul if I didn't get this. Joe Edwards. It's Correct. Joe Edwards, isn't it?
Yep.
Joe Edwards. What an absolute legend. She's the best since Millie Khan.
Absolutely. I think better than Millie Khan.
Well, yeah, better than Millie Khan, but best since.
Joe Edwards, the sister-in-law of the late Jock Edwards.
Jock? Yes.
Jock's brother. She's married to Jock's brother Dave. Who, himself has been a New Zealand bowl selector for many years. I think he stood aside over the last couple of years and coached the New Zealand side. Joe comes from a sporting family. Her father, Keith Barrett, played in goal for Nelson United back in the 1970s, and himself a good Scouser too. So Liverpool fans in that family, the Barrett family. But yeah, Joe Edwards, congratulations on an absolutely sterling career.
Those are some phenomenal statistics.
Another of our top sports people, and another sport that gets very little or no recognition from the likes of the Hellberg Awards. And to have competed that long at that level, I mean, it's not like she's played for over 2 decades and just won the odd medal here and there. Won medals right from the very start of her career, right through till this year when she's finished. So,
and I think her and her husband have just moved back to New Zealand, haven't they? I think
yeah, they've been living in Australia for a while.
That's right.
She was playing professionally over there. But yeah, good Nelson stock, and I'm sure they'll enjoy their life back in Nelson. And yeah, good luck to Joe Edwards. I knew Joe when she was only about 5 years old.
Really?
Her father, Keith, coached the football team that I was involved in as a young fella. So
those are some phenomenal, mate. Has anyone else in New Zealand in any sport represented their country 646 times? I mean, you'd have to, I don't know, maybe in something like chess or, so I'm just trying to think. I mean, 646 times. If you played for 30 years, you divide that by, that's still 20 tests a year, isn't it? That's a lot of games.
Mm.
Oh, that's incredible, mate.
Joe has said that she's still going to play bowls on a local level and just has to try and dampen down her competitive spirit. To try and not take every game so seriously. So,
No.
along with her great friend Val Smith, they won a number of titles together over the years in the doubles format. So,
How many? Do you know how many national champs she's won?
Well, Joe won 5 national titles.
Yep.
I'm not sure
so
they're all singles or whether they're a mixture of doubles or.
I think you get a gold star when you get 10.
Yeah.
So that should be her aim. Stay competitive until you get 10. I think you get a gold star that people like Kostinich and Bellis and stuff have got. Yep. So that should be her next aim. But what a record, a hell of a record. And she definitely deserves to go well in her retirement.
Quite right. Well, that's about it for this week. Another All Black test over the weekend to look forward to. The Premiership is back and running again.
Yep.
So
Liverpool in the Champions League tomorrow, is that right?
Yes, tomorrow against Atalanta, and hopefully
right.
win there will mean Jurgen can play the B-side for the rest of the 2 games because it will mean we will already have qualified for next year's round. No international football till March. Lots of football ahead, and
we've got a bit of cricket to watch as well this weekend.
Cricket starts on Friday, so lots to talk about next week, and I look forward to your company then. So it's good afternoon from me.
And it's just before I go, shout out to my Auntie Robin as well. She watches every week. And it's good night from him. Good night.